So today we have in our Meet the KSI coaches, Kelly Batt, and we're going to learn all about Kelly's journey before, during, and in the future in relation to her physical preparation business. So Kelly, thank you for taking time in your very, very busy schedule to chat and share your experiences with the other coaches.
Thanks for having me.
And what I think we'll do is we might just also take this one to Kelly. We should probably start at the very beginning. It's always the easiest place to manage it, but I'm pretty keen to get into the now. But let's go. I know you've got a certain accent. So does that mean you were born in another country?
Yes, born in the UK.
And which part of the UK?
Western-super-Mare near Bristol, southwest.
Okay, for those who are familiar with their geography, that should place you. So how old were you when you came to Australia?
I came here 4 years, coming up 4 years ago.
Ah, recent arrival.
Yes.
As my Indigenous brothers and sisters would say, although we're all recent arrivals. Excellent. So what brought you to Australia?
I came traveling in 2011 and did a year here, and I really liked it. I liked the outdoor lifestyle. I love the people. So yeah, we just decided to move out 4 years ago.
Well, I think most people who visit this country would want to stay. So
if you had the chance, yeah.
Your journey in physical preparation, where did that begin?
So I started, so I came out to Australia 2011, and previous to that, I worked in sales and travel. So that was my background. And then I came out here and I just really liked being outdoors and just the movement side of things. And I've always liked helping people. So I left Australia, went back to England, and then I studied for physical prep. So around 2012, 2013. So
that was after you came to Australia, before you came to Australia?
After.
Ah, so it was, if you'd stayed in the UK, would you have gone down that road, down that path?
I saw the opportunities that Australia had when we visited. I don't think I would have even been aware of those opportunities if I stayed in the UK personally. So yeah, no, I don't think I would have if I'd have stayed. I would have just stayed in the same job, I would imagine.
Now, is that because movement, moving countries and homes was a catalyst to create change, or was it because of the weather's more appealing, or is there something about the industry in Australia? I mean, what are those three reasons?
I always like change, so I'm always looking for more. When I came out here, it was the outdoors, it was the people, we did more. We did more. I did running, I did sport out here, which I didn't do in England, other than a few runs here and there. So I think it was more the outdoors that did it.
So, and you mentioned change and you embrace change, which is probably something we'll be coming back to. So what was your perception of the industry? Like what was your first year? What would you call your first year in the industry? What year was that?
2013.
And you just come to Australia?
So I got back from Australia in 2012, and then I went straight into studying for physical preparation. Did a course.
Okay, so you studied in England?
Yes, yeah, studied in England.
And what was your perception? What did you think you would be doing when you set out, and what was that, 2012?
I wasn't sure. I looked for a course, I signed up, I went along. It was a short course. I think it was 6 weeks, if I can remember. It was just, there was a lot to it, but there wasn't anything to it. So I finished the course and I was thinking, what do I do? What can I do with this? I was asking myself the question, where do I go? What do I do? And there was the place in which the course was held at. They were holding a big group for everyone to come in and have an interview to then be a trainer there. And so I went along with like 30 others, and then I ended up working in the place that I did the course, and that's how I started.
And what sort of role was that? How would you describe that?
Personal trainer in the gym, helping people write a program when they first come in, when they first join up.
So does that mean you're individualizing the programs back in your first job?
No.
So when you say
I tried from what I'd learned from the course. So you ask a few questions. I asked a few questions on what their background was, what they're looking to achieve. And then I think the back then in the course, it was like the push, pull, twist, bend, hinge patterns. So then you place the program around that. That was how we got taught. So yeah, that was back when I first started.
And do you think that that's pretty indicative of the standard of the industry? You know, you do a short course and voila, you can write a program for someone.
Well, look how many trainers were at the interview. There was like 30, and I don't know how often that happens. But yeah, that's.
So how long?
That's how it's sold.
You're obviously implementing the model that they taught you. How many minutes did you say learning about the person before you wrote the program?
10 minutes. 15 minutes.
Yeah. And how much of that programming decisions was your mind made up before you even started the process? Like, how much did those 10 minutes really shape the program?
It didn't. I found out about the person a little bit, but that wasn't reflected in the program at all. Other than injuries. Other than injuries.
And that's for me, that's how the industry rolls. And that's good compared to where it was even prior to that, where there was no minutes. It was just straight into workout. They just made a workout up on the spot. So in your observation, in the eight years since, has the industry evolved at all, or is it still there?
If in question with like the courses that they offer outside of KSI, it's the same. I went to a trainer course, a rehab trainer course in 2018 in October, and it was the same. You get taught so much, and you come out and you look back and you go, wow, okay, yes, they might have given you knowledge, but then what does that relate to? How do you then act upon that? So
basically a lot of information, but not a lot of sense.
Mm-mm.
So how many years did you work in the industry in England before coming to Australia?
2013 to 17, 4 years.
4 years. And what kind of evolution occurred in your work path there? Was you just the same thing for 4 years, and did you feel like being better? What was the journey?
Yeah, so I always look to improve and look for things, look for a better way, I suppose. But when I started in 2013, I worked in the gym. I stayed there for, I think, probably about 8 or 9 months. And then from there, I went to a commercial gym. So I joined Fitness First. And that was where you're like self-employed, you have your own business, find your own clients. And then I didn't really like being in the commercial gym back in England. So I went and found it was just a big warehouse in the middle of an industrial estate that someone had opened like a studio, but yeah, big warehouse. So and then I went and started my business there, and I was there for probably about a year and a half, maybe. Yeah, I can't remember exactly, before I came here.
So you became, inverted commas, self-employed fairly quickly, like, within the first 12 months.
Yeah.
And that's probably not necessarily overly common. Do you think you're a bit more adventurous than most?
Yeah, I think I like looking for better ways, and I suppose I just like working by myself as well, with others in my own space. I've always.
So when you started working for yourself, did you continue on the business model or the professional model that you had used in the first 12 months, or did you change it?
I went with what I'd been taught, in a sense, so I didn't change it.
So
I would have spent. Oh no, because now when I went to Fitness First, probably I would have spent maybe, I can't remember exactly, but maybe 30 or 40 minutes with the person. I gave up a good amount of my time before I went into the first session, but only about 30 minutes, 40 minutes. It wasn't any longer than that.
When you say you gave up your time, you were charging them for that?
No, I didn't. I did a complimentary consultation.
And is that an industry norm?
I wasn't sure back then. I did that because I thought that was the right thing to do to get to know the person. I wasn't directed or influenced by anything for that. It was more, that was my decision.
So throughout those 4 years or so in England before coming over, what was your client avatar? What was your average client?
So general population between the ages of 25 to 60.
And did you feel fulfillment that you were helping people?
I felt I was doing my best in that particular time to help people. I wasn't definitely doing the best as what I could be, which I found out in these years by learning more and more and more. But I felt like I was doing my best, but I could have done better.
So coming back to your client base, you played sport as a kid?
I played netball and I did dancing. So it was, I played netball a little, but dancing when I was from 6 to 12.
And I believe a lot of people come into physical preparation through personal training in the hope that they'll get into sport. Was that your aspiration as well, or you just wanted to general pop? You happy with that?
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with that, because I think too many people get deluded about sport, and they undermine the value of the general pop. But at the same time, I think that the general pop industry is a real low bar industry, because low expectations provided by the service providers and low expectations received. I think most people's cars get more individualized training than self-service than the human. But we'll come back to that. So you've come to Australia and you got work easily or quickly, or did you go work for someone else, or did you start your own business?
Yeah, I wanted to start my own business, but I didn't really have any contacts, didn't really know anyone. So I worked teaching classes, so teaching like cycling classes and all those things when I first got here, which, to be honest, it was great. I got to meet some great people and make some friends. So initially that's what I did. And then I took the step to start my own business about a year into getting here. So about 2018.
And so again, did you go out on your own, or
So I started in, I started in a small studio in Toowong. I went along and learned a lot from that experience too. So that I was there only for a short time. And I think, again, I realized you don't know what you don't know, but I realized that from what I'd learned in England, I still had a lot to learn. So I think my nerves got the better of me there, and I didn't believe in myself. So I did step away from that studio, which, again, looking back, it was probably based on me and believing in myself more than anything else. And then I went to Good Life.
So it's an interesting mix, because you said you embrace change, but you also have some question marks about yourself. So it's an interesting mix. So you're brave enough to change, but I guess you can say you get a bit scared, or it scares you.
Yeah. Yeah. And looking back on that now.
When you say you went to another facility, does that in a similar role, or like were you working for the gym, or were you an independent contractor or self-employed?
Yep. So independent contractor. And it was, that was a small studio. And in the small studio, actually, now I got paid just I think it was a quarter of the rate that they charged, looking back. So they charged a particular amount to the client, and then I think I got like a quarter of that for having the clients pass to me. That was initially back in 2018, and then I went to Good Life, and then I was an independent contractor in Good Life.
Okay, and where are you at the moment? Where's your primary service location?
So I wanted to get out of the commercial. I did that in England, and the same as here. And so I moved to a small studio in the city, which, it's just a private studio.
And what's your arrangement?
So I just pay rent for the week, and I can do as I please.
Okay, which again is a pretty common model in the industry.
Yeah.
Could you survive without being associated with the facility?
Yes, I could. And that comes into buying a house, which is something that I am going to do this year. I have set that in my goals. But as soon as I do that, I can have my studio in my house, and that is my goal.
Something we've talked about. Okay, so why, like, when did you start with KSI and why? Like, what was the catalyst for that?
So in 2018, I was doing different courses over here, and you have to do a certain amount for your insurances. So I was doing different courses. I wasn't getting much from them. And then I saw on social media just on a story of, just popped up one of your books. And I was just really interested, never heard of KSI. And so, yeah, I just bought the book. And wow, what a difference.
And what was that book?
The Foundations of Physical Preparation.
Wow. And what month and year was that?
That was March 2019.
Okay, so that was your first exposure to us. You bought a book. And what was your initial thoughts?
Oh, I loved it. There was just so much. It was just different. It was different. And if you've been following one way and so many different courses that all go down the same route for so long, it was just nice. It was just refreshing to see different, and just interested to hear more.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to say different, because for me, what everyone else is doing is different. I started out in 1980, and I spent a few years doing part-time work in the fitness industry to supplement my income and gain experience. And so, I saw the fitness industry, at least in Australia, and in the 1980s, and then in England and in America in the late 80s, early 90s. So I got to see the fitness industry globally. And then, this new version of the fitness industry is not what it used to be. And there's a lot we can talk about, but it's not a history lesson on the fitness industry. So what was the main thing that stood out from that book? What was the number one thing that stood out as being different?
Physical qualities and flexibility, which was something that had never been talked about that much or prioritized in training. It's just something you did at the end of a session. And why did you do it? You didn't really get explained as to why you did it. You just did it, and that was about it. And also about you as a person. And that's something up to 2019, you go to a course and I think you're just looking for knowledge. Well, that's me. I was just like, oh, what can I learn from this course? What can I learn from this course? And then when I came across KSI, I've realized it's actually about you and learning about yourself. And it's something you can't read in a book. And that's the difference.
So after the first book, what was your next step, and how long did it take, and why? Why did you take another step? What was the next KSI involvement after the first book, Foundations?
I think I just received the book, and then the same day, I think I signed up to level 0. I think I got the book, and then I started reading it.
You signed up to level 0.
Yeah.
Okay, that's definitely an action taker. That separates you. So you must have been impressed enough with the book to take that massive risk. And I'm not being facetious. I'm not being sarcastic or cynical. It's a reality. People, $97, like, what a risk. Especially if there's no marketing involved and no one's convinced you to do it. It must have been an act of faith on your part. Did you feel a bit trepidatious as you did it? Like, did you feel trepidation as you signed up for the level 0 at the time?
No, I think you look back at what you've spent your money on previous to that, and you go, "Wow."
Isn't that a reality? I have met people who have spent up to $100,000 on somebody's education and just got a lot of tears for it. So I don't like it's hard for me to be straight faced when we talk about the prices of our courses, because we are literally. Although we started online education in the world, and I started coach education, well, most people around in our group now were even born. We're not the most expensive, and in fact we're probably middle of the road, and yet I think our content is a little bit more than middle of the road. So you weren't scared. You signed up for level 0, and do you remember your response? What you thought, like when you start something new, you know it's shitty. You know whether you feel like you've been ripped off or whether you feel like you've hit a gold mine. Like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what was your initial response when you got on the online course?
I just honestly, I straight away, I kind of, it aligned with me, it aligned with my values, and it made me want to learn more. So when you first read something, it's like you read it and you go, oh, okay, what can this lead to? What can this lead to? And it just evolved, and it kept evolving, and that was only just the beginning. And and I didn't even know what to expect after that, because obviously it's level 0 and I still wanted to learn more, but wow, as it evolved and as you go forward. But yeah, straight away, I just wanted more.
Well, I find a lot of people come in for the industry is conditioned this attitude that you just collect information along the way. You don't actually connect the dots. You just collect information, and I call it the badge of honor. I got this badge from this course, got this badge from this course, got this badge from this course, and the more badges I've got, the better a trainer I must be. So the conversion rate in reality of humans is they go to level 0 and 50% of them never come back, and that could be because we do a shitty job, or it could be because humans think they've collected everything, they've got their cup's full, they need to go and find 50 other service providers to get 50 more badges. Did you ever think at that time that, well, this is more than I had before, I've collected my information, I've got my rubber stamp, I can move on to my next course? Was that something that you...
No, because I'm not worried about, the only reason I did the certificates is because I had to do them for insurances over here. And I've got friends that say, Kelly, you don't get a certificate, you don't get a degree or anything, but you don't, and you don't do it for that. You do it to help people and to see if you can improve yourself and get further by helping and seeing how much more you can take someone. And I just find it funny how, but everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But,
absolutely. Well, that's the conditioning. It's education we provide, not certification. So everyone's, I can sell my course if I can show that I've got 4 CEUs with the NSCA or some shit like that, or some, the national body of my country. And we don't, and we never have. If you're not motivated by your internal desire to get better and help people, then, the course, it's probably not for you. So was there anything about the platform or the content in level O that hit you? Like, what was a standout thing about level O that drew you?
Like the history of KSI and kind of where you've come, like where everything has kind of evolved from, and how everything has been the same over the years. And it's not like you've learned new things and incorporated new things and trying to get better and better and better. It's like, oh my goodness, everything links. So if you talk of one thing, everything links to the other. And yeah, it's just fascinating.
So March 2019, got into it, level 0. How long did level 0, you obviously went beyond level 0, but what was the catalyst for that, and when did that occur, do you think?
I think I went through level 0 quite quickly. I think I signed up to level 1 pretty soon after. I went through level 0 quite quickly. And then level 1, I think it was March. I'm not too sure. Maybe it was May. Level 1, April, May.
My notes should show us. But so what were your thoughts? Like, you've gone from level 0 to level 1. Like, what were your thoughts about that? Like, was it rewarding? Like, did it confirm that you're taking the right direction, or was it like, was it a big step up? Like, what were your thoughts, if you can remember, about level 1 compared to level 0?
A little bit more in depth about the different qualities and again, history behind it. But it wasn't so much about the history. It's about, I think, learning these different things and then going and trying them and going experimenting and seeing how it feels and seeing what kind of opinions you come to yourself as well.
Good stuff. And level 0, like, did you ever feel like, what am I doing level 0 for? I've been in the industry for what at that time, 6 years, and like I'm pretty experienced. I like, what the hell would I want to do a level 0 for? Did you have that? Did you suffer from that thought?
No, and I don't think it makes any difference now. I'd do level 3 over and over again if I had to, because I can learn so much all the time. It doesn't matter. It's just a number. It's more about what you can gain from it.
Because I know that's a stumbling block. A lot of people say, I've got to You know, I might say I've got a degree, I've got a postgraduate degree, you know, I do this and I do that. Like, why the hell would I want to do level 0? But I don't think anyone after doing level 0 would ever ask that question, but would see. So then you went on to level 2. And do you have any recollections about level 2? You know, like some...
Yeah, definitely. And that's when it came into the business, the professional, the personal, financial. And that's when realizations happened on when you're servicing someone, when you're helping someone, are you just answering the questions for them? Are you asking the questions and are you finding out about them truly, or are you just answering them? And that was a big realization for me. Big realization.
So you basically got ahead of the industry, because the industry is obviously slow and antiquated. But if you get ahead of the industry, then one day the industry will move to where you were, you know, where you were 10 years ago. So it's pretty easy to stay ahead. So you didn't stop at level 2 though. What you went to level 3, which, you know, level 2 would teach you how to structure thoughts, get real clear about your operation. Level 3 is teaching you how to teach. And I guess before I let you answer that question, the book How to Teach, which was written after How to Write and contains the world's first written exposure in depth, over 100 words on progressions of exercise continuums, is really undersold, because people see the word how to teach and they think, well, that's pretty useless. Like I learned how to teach in my first day on the job, and no one wants to buy it. And when they do, obviously, buy that book, How to Teach, it can change their perspective. But generally speaking, the words how to teach aren't sexy. They aren't attractive. Were you concerned or put off by the words how to teach, or what were your thoughts around the art of teaching?
No, I think I bought that alongside How to Write. Yeah, no, I bought that back when I bought How to Write. And I think you get taught a certain way. And when I got taught that certain way back in 2013, you believe it, you trust it, because that's what you're being told. And then when I first came to level 0 and level 1 and level 2, you realize that what you were being told, how can someone tell you these things? And then you go, and then when I bought the How to Write, I was like, well, I have to buy the How to Teach, because there's so many things I've just come across in these first few levels that it's just mind-blowing, the difference.
It's interesting, because I wrote How to Write in 1998 based on my first 18 years experience. I wrote How to Teach in 2000. And, you know, the industry's done its best to copy my work, but they don't understand it, and they don't have the experience to teach properly or to understand it. So, you know, you're picking a book 20 years after it's written, or 22 years after it's written, and finding stuff that's been around in public domain. You know, anyone could have bought it 22 years ago, but there's such an effort by the industry, you know, the wannabes, the people who want to be significant, to promote their materials, even though they know they're selling a poor knockoff of the original work, that people don't get to read the original work, and I think they get shortchanged. They don't get to see the quality. I mean, 100 pages on exercise continuum. So I get emails saying, Ian, I'm thinking of doing the level 0. Do you teach exercise continuums? Like, sorry, do you teach progressions and regressions? I want to fall out of my chair. I said, you know, the word wouldn't have existed if I had introduced it. I was the first person talking about exercise continuums and progressions and regressions back in the 90s. And the people who spread it were just copying what in the work. So it's ironic for me that it's been there for so long. But I guess when you find it, it's still fresh and still valuable. Like, the industry is still way behind what you find in those earlier books. So yeah, the art of coaching, the art of teaching. Level 3 theory course. How was the theory course? The
25 steps. How many steps there were to the art of coaching is it was really in depth. You first read it and you go, what's involved? But then actually the more you practice it and the more you repeat it and you go over and over, you actually understand a little more why you do go through those steps. And initially I looked at it, but then there's a great understanding behind it, a great understanding.
Good stuff. And, you know, those 25 steps, when people discover them, when I say people, we're talking about the industry's greatest plagiarists discovered, they'll market it as 17, and then 4 years later they'll market it as 7, and 3 years later they'll market it as 0.7 steps. So the industry is being dumbed down by people who are trying to appeal to the instant gratification of the marketplace so they can make more money. So when I wrote how to write in 98, I said 35 steps to writing a program. And that was, as I said, broken down to, 18, 5 years later, and then it was broken down to 9, 4 years after that. And then, 12 years later, it was broken down to 3. And, you could say that that's making it more efficient, but how the hell can you make writing someone's program that they've never met before in 3 steps? Like, for fuck's sake, this is not about serving the market. This is about serving the needs of individuals who want to be significant and want to make a shitload of money off people. Just wrong. It's just unscrupulous. And I'm just glad at this point in time that my steps in how to teach haven't been grabbed by the industry's plagiarizers. So it's still really protected. And so you went from the theory course into the prac course. Now, before our level 3 was all prac, then I thought over the years I reflected that there's so much theory that we're teaching you and we're giving you practical experience all along. How would you feel if you go into a level 3 camp not having heard the theory of delivery and then having to do the prac at the same time? It'd be a bit tougher.
It would have been so much tougher, and it was tough as it was anyway. And I'd done the level 3 theory, and if I'd have just turned up to a camp and not known about that theory beforehand, I don't think I would have got as much out of the camp that we did in August if I hadn't have had that exposure to the theory previously.
I've had an academic who's involved as a lecturer at university who's actually done up to our level 2 tell me that I'd claimed our level 3 was all prac, and therefore there's no way in the world he would get involved in the theory component, because I'm just creating a theory course for the sake of theory course. It's a bit tragic from my perspective, because I just asked myself, how can I teach you better how to do it? And I thought, if I can separate the theory and then get you to turn up and implement the theory, at least with a conscious awareness of it, there's a greater chance that you'll have some level of success, whereas instead of just dumping it all on you at once. So I think you appreciate it, but obviously, change doesn't always sit well with everybody. So
Yeah, you go.
Go ahead, Kel.
No, I was just going to say, you can read those steps as many times over as well and kind of instill them. But then actually I find now, and it's something I do more often, is recording your self-coaching, because I had never done that previous to last August. And you just pick up so much about yourself when you do that, so much.
Absolutely. So the level 3 prac, that's pretty fresh on your memory, because what was it, last week, about a week ago? Have you recovered from it yet?
I think I recovered yesterday.
What was that? 5 days later or 6 days later?
Yep, I think I recovered yesterday. But I was just jumping for joy when I finished on Sunday, because you can't teach it in a book. And even when you read it, it's just not the same. I picked up so much from the camp on Sunday that's so valuable. And there's a list. I could reel off everything. And that's just like the top, scratching the surface, because I just picked up the things I recognized, and there's so much more below that.
You understand that. So this is an interesting point, because I'm a big fan of the internet. The reason I took our education to the internet in 1999 is because I realized that people were geographically disadvantaged, and if they had to be there to go to a course. So I was one of the first, if not the first, in the global industry to provide online and accessible, geographically accessible content. So I'm a big fan of the internet. And in COVID, obviously, we've become even more reliant on the internet. But at the same time, people are now starting to ignore the value of in-person. And the way you've just worded that, you show you understand that there's some things that, no matter how good the internet is, that you'll get a lot more in person. And the reason I raise that is because we go and if we put a camp on, there could have been 20 to 30 other coaches in our geographical region that could have been that camp, but they didn't. They didn't go to that camp. And in part because I think they don't understand the difference between internet learning and in-person learning. Until you've experienced in-person learning with us, I think you don't know what you don't know, and therefore you're sitting on the edges, and that's fine. I'm not a convincer. I don't care what path people take, but it's almost it's, you know, if you want to use emotions, it's almost sad to watch those opportunities get lost. I mean, how would you feel if you said to yourself before the camp, well, I'd like to go, but I've got a triathlon on that weekend, and I could probably learn it online anyway, so I'm not going to go. Like, how would that have gone down, knowing what you would have missed?
I would never do that, and I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I know you did, but I can tell you there was a bucket load of people who didn't turn up for whatever reason. So let's get down to some of the specifics. What were some of the things that hit you hard, became really aware during the in-person experience? We spent 3 days together. It was your first time in a prac camp as opposed to obviously a theory or an online course. Sorry. What were some of the things that you realised that you were learning that you might not have learned through internet delivery?
I think I took a lot away from last August, and then I think I reverted back to my old ways and old habits because of not practicing it as regular in between that time. So as soon as I came into Friday, and then I went into some of the recordings and I look back at them, it's and you replayed them, I think at the end of the day, I could see myself being fluffy and coming back in with the fun factor and not being as clear with my cues. Also, exercise, how I delivered, like the feedback I got from people, and how I delivered the exercise that I was meant to be speaking about. And also, actually, most importantly, thinking on the spot. I let my nerves get the better of me all the time. And I did that again on the weekend, and I've got to change that. Keeping those steps, stay grounded, keeping those steps in my mind of how to go through it, and just organizing. But I could honestly, there's so many things, and also speed as well, because speed isn't something that I do regularly. And I think we even went through one thing on Saturday, and then in the actual event, I forgot it. So yeah.
So what do you think about the claim that when we go live in prac, we provide learning experiences that nobody else can provide? Like, what did you think of that? The real world experiences that we put in front of you?
Yeah, well, you want to be the best you can be, and you want to deliver the best you can, and it just shows what you don't know, and it just shows how competent you are, and it brings home to what you need to work on. And you don't get that from just sitting in front of a computer or reading a book, because you don't get put on the spot. And as much as I dislike it, I love it at the same time, because it's the quickest way you can learn.
So in any courses you've done to date, have they put you in front of real athletes?
No, which is why I think I've always been the way I am, and trying to change that, because they don't do that. They just give you an ideal situation. Yeah.
Well, in all fairness to them, if you saw them, the people who were teaching, if you saw them get put in the same situations you've been put in a prac sense, they'd crumble as much as you, because I can tell you there's a lot of talk, but there's not a lot of walk out there. You know, there's very few people who can walk their talk. Everyone's got a lovely pitch, lovely teaching script, but I've seen it live. I've seen so-called, the industry's best present live in terms of working with athletes live, and it's not pretty. So I'm very proud of what we deliver in terms of experiences for you, which we will come back to. There's a few things I want to talk about. How's this impacted your business practices overall?
It's been life-changing from not, I think, accepting that you don't know the answer, and the answer doesn't lie from you getting asked a question. So clients used to ask me questions, and I used to think, I have to know the answer. Why don't I know the answer? And I'd be like, oh, I don't know. And I'd feel really nervous about that. And actually now I ask the questions a little more. I'm trying, and so many more achievements and less injuries in training. So clients have never really got that many injuries with me. Fingers crossed, touch wood. But now it's not, they're not really occurring, because they're answering their own questions.
So you're probably related to my saying, which is, I don't know much, but I'm really good at finding out the answers. through their bodies.
But questions are so, that's something I've really had to work on this last year, is asking the right questions. I'm still continuing to.
Yeah, it's a different path of discovery, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
You're not feeling like you've got an obligation to be a guru, but rather respecting everyone's different, their situation is different, and the answer should be unique to each person rather than just A equals B.
Yeah.
So, because of your exposure to our program, and we have a very holistic approach, and we've been using the word holism for quite a few decades, and I know it'll become really popular one day, but in fact, I started to pop up more and more over time. We've changed the way you look at not only your business, but we changed the way you look at yourself. We changed the way you look at money, changed the way you look at your investments. And would you have got that sort of exposure in any other educational journey?
Definitely not. Definitely not. And I'm really, really grateful for having been made aware of KSI and then joining and just continuing, because how much I've learned about myself and how I think about things and how I act and the decisions I make have influenced clients and everyone around me, really. And it's been really wonderful.
So you've taken more steps than average, and that's why I guess you've advanced so quickly in what's nearly 2 years, or we're going into 2 years. We're nearly heading into 2 years, and you'll be heading into level 4 very shortly. So you've taken every opportunity to step forward. You're partner with us in our product distribution, so you're getting entrepreneurial experiences. My way of teaching entrepreneurism is very different at the industry. The industry has opened a personal training studio and hire trainers, and it's been really successful during COVID, and that was tongue in cheek. I admit I was a bit mean of me, but yeah, I believe we teach entrepreneurism in a fairly effective way and a very different way. So I'm pretty sure you've appreciating as you continue the journey the lessons in entrepreneurship that you're being given.
Yeah, definitely. And that's only been the last year. I never used to really read books before this last year, and what you like self-development books, and that's been an eye-opener for me, and also just in entrepreneurship with money and how I looked at money previous to 12 months ago, and look, it's ever evolving. I'm sure I'm going to always keep changing, but just everything.
Well, it's no coincidence that 100% of our top end coaches are well established in their financial education in terms of as manifested in their investments and their land or real estate ownership, et cetera, et cetera. We're very unique subgroup in the marketplace, because the majority of the people in this industry they've got stinking thinking and are busted ass. The home ownership would be a very low percentage, et cetera, whereas, once you advance through not that it's a requirement per se, but it is a byproduct of what we teach. And you know that already. The chats we've had around real estate and other investment vehicles that you'll get more exposed to the further you go into the program. And it's a whole new world, because the way our high-level coaches live and how they got there and why they live the way they do is very different to the industry thinking. So let's talk about the levels and future. Now, during the course, we did have a bit of a chit chat about the future levels, and you probably demonstrate that little bit of feeling of inadequacy about, I don't know if I'm ready, blah, 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 blah. But what's the next step?
So next step is I'm going to join the level 3 virtual in March. I really like to do that. And then level 4 theory, and level 4, hopefully June, July. And then level 5 next year, if that all goes to plan, which it will go to plan. See, I did it again then.
At least we're getting a plan. Well, that was a little bit more concrete than our last chat. That's good.
It was a progression.
The level 4 is broken into 2 parts again. The theory, it's really solid, and then the prac. And that'll be a great journey for you. I find it pretty ironic, because to expect a young industry entrant to write a program for somebody is, it's okay, I guess, to write basic programs, but there are a lot of people who are given programming roles that are way beyond their pay scale, and the athlete's paying the price for it. It's like giving a kid a a performance motor vehicle and saying, listen, you've just got your license, but go and drive this V8, this 5.8 turbocharged, whatever V8, and keep yourself alive. In this case, it's all the clients are at risk because the programming has the ability to permanently and significantly change a human's body for better or for worse. And so, we take our program design pretty seriously, and you'll learn a lot more about that at the level 4 level. So you did a camp with us, I think late last year. It was August last year. You did a virtual with us, but because you were in the location of the actual event, you got to join in. Is that correct?
Yes. I'll never. There you go.
Tell the world.
I'll never forget the speed session that we had one-on-one back last August. It was the most terrifying part of my year, but it was also the most beneficial. That was my moment of change, I think, last August, about just everything. It was just incredible. I'd never experienced that ever.
So speed's really poorly done in the industry. It's no surprise. The strength is 90% of the focus. 7% goes to, 5% goes to speed attention, and 3-4% goes to endurance, and 1% at best go to flex. So it's no surprise that the industry standard is really low, and your understanding of that. But obviously, you had a good experience both within the body and both in the mind in terms of understanding how it fitted into the bigger scheme of things. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And look, flexibility now with all my clients, they all do their 30 to 40 minutes of flex, or majority, I'd say 80%. And they're noticing big changes in strength and performance. And I think those that I first meet, it's about them identifying the value in it. So without me trying to say, I tried to go, flexibility is fantastic, and using all these words, and actually when they've experienced the value, they then turn around to me and say, Kelly, this is brilliant. But flexibility has been unbelievable, really. It's changed everything.
Yeah, it's a simple concept. Before you judge it, why don't you try it? There's a lot of strong paradigms. You're a post-2000 baby. The internet influenced, created a lot of keyboard warriors in 2000. People came out and started positioning themselves as. I tell a funny story. There's this young gym instructor or personal trainer in California, and he kept saying to me, I'm an up and coming. I said, well, I didn't quite understand it because he had no experience and he was incompetent. So he probably wasn't going to make it. He'd already failed in getting work, couldn't get work with athletes or teams. And yet he was an up and coming strength and conditioning coach. And I didn't understand it. But then, I got a lesson, because then I learned that they knew something I didn't, that on the internet, that you can create the perception that you're competent and position yourself as an expert in the industry. And that, I felt a bit blindsided by that, because I actually thought you had to get experience or have a degree of affinity or some sort of competence. But no, you're a majority of the teachers post 2000 have got no experience, no competency, but just great marketing on the internet. So you're having a unique experience. You're actually working with people who are pre-2000 values, where competency and experience do matter. And the value, the true value add, not the warm fuzzy feeling that someone gets for 30 seconds, but the true lifelong impact you make on someone is the key. It's why we do what we do. We don't do what we do to create the perception of our greatness on it.
And that's from the weekend. Yeah, from the weekend when we did the strength section on Friday and the speed section on Saturday. And I've taken it into client sessions this week, one for speed and one a few for strength. And just so subtle, I didn't even recognize some of the body positions in some of the control drills, and just changing it this week, I've had great feedback, and it's just small. It's so subtle, so subtle.
Yeah, it's tough to watch. I introduced the concept of control drills, as you know, and then watching all the world do all these bastardized interpretations. And even, I said, when I released the video on control drills in about 2000, I said, they're not easy to teach. I can give you a video, but you really need to be taught in person. And so one of the reasons I didn't include control drills in the 99 Get Buff book was that I didn't want to give the wrong impression to people that you could just read a paragraph and go and master the exercise. I don't know too many successful outcomes where people have read about it or even watched the video and mastered it. You get a real different awareness when you're in person and learning, teaching you how to teach a control drill.
Yeah, and I've read the book and I've got the video, and that didn't compare to the weekend. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, yeah.
So we've put you in situations. What's the largest number of athletes we've put you in front of?
140.
How'd that feel?
Scary.
And in hindsight, was it beneficial?
Nerve-wracking. Oh, definitely. The first time, I think it's the watching yourself back and seeing what you do and how you move and how you speak, and you go, wow, that can be improved. And doing it again on the weekend, same again, scary, nerve-wracking, maybe a little bit less nerve-wracking, but beneficial, so beneficial.
And you'll be doing it this weekend, and I reckon you might have, you might have even 160 in front of you in one of those groups. I don't mean to give you a restless night.
I think I've just caught my sleep back from the weekend. No, no, I'm joking.
So why are you getting these opportunities and others aren't? I mean, let's be straight. How many times have you run that program with over 100? How many times have you been involved with that program with over 100? How many days now? How many sessions?
I think it's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 or 6
sessions.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting that, but others aren't. What separates you? I mean, why are you getting opportunities that others aren't?
I definitely, I think I ask if I can be involved sometimes, not necessarily with that, but I do like to ask questions of how I can improve and learn and take myself further. And being here in Brisbane, but
well, I think personally, I think the main difference is you position yourself. You take action. You've taken on every learning opportunity you've had in the last 18 months, 2 years with us, and we notice, like, action takers get noticed. Like, you create your own luck, and the things you've learned, the experiences you've had teaching that group that we're referring to, 100+ group in numbers. You've earned that. You've positioned yourself for that, and that's. I probably get bored of me saying, but high achievers, it's not a crowded place. It's a pretty simple path because no one else is there. It's not conformity. It's being willing to put yourself out there, and then because you do that, people are knocking on your door saying, "Hey, come and do this, come and do this." And you've had a really, really good run in that regard, and I believe it's simply because you've created your own opportunity. You've created your own luck, so to speak. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I'm really pleased. And I'm glad I said yes to the first time, because I think back then that was maybe last July, and I was just starting at, like, this year's been a huge year for me in terms of change. But if I hadn't have said yes, then I would have kicked myself right now, because I said yes, and then I believed in myself a little more each time. And it's, there's no saying no's anymore, because I really, really am enjoying it. It's really beneficial.
Yeah, and I've been kind of gentle. Sometimes I say you get 30 minutes time, you're coordinating a group session of 50 people, but other times I give you 12 hours notice, and this week you've had a whole week's notice.
Oh, thanks, Ian. Yeah, that 30 minutes on Saturday. I think I just wanted to curl up in the corner, but I didn't have that choice. So
exactly, it was a real live situation, and you came through with flying colours. Like, don't spend time beating yourself up. Just acknowledge opportunities to improve and to run with them, but you don't find out those unless you do it, and you don't get to improve on them unless you do it again. So, action's always going to be the common denominator to success. You've got to take that action.
Yeah, and it really stood out to me that doing that Saturday and then having the frustration for a small amount of time, but then backing it up on Sunday, I felt just having that practice again close by. And I think that's something I need to start doing, is putting myself into situations and learning more and trying to practice more, because it definitely helped going from Saturday into Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. We did some dry runs early in the day, and then we did some real work, and then you get a chance to turn it the next day, and group size just got bigger and put it into action.
Yeah.
So you had a really unique experience in that small group practice with this just recently. What were some of the things that you saw that you realized you really didn't know? Like, you became conscious that you didn't know what you didn't know. There were some things over those 3 days that must have really hit you, like, oh my God, I've just seen that go down. Either someone else do it, or myself do it, or you do it, and not in a negative way, but wow, I've just found an opportunity to become better. What were one of those two moments?
I think definitely, well, going into practice, it would be having the alternatives of exercises if it was in practice, and thinking on the spot, which it's not just one exercise fits all, and it's not just this is the exercise to do. It's because if that doesn't work, how can you then adapt and change to allow that to work? And that's some of the situations that I just didn't realize until the weekend. And then secondly, learning about and connecting with the person and finding out the why. Why am I doing this? And that's something that I wasn't asking myself. I was just going through the exercise, and there was no why. There wasn't a why. And that's something I need to work on, is why am I doing this?
So the 2 points there. The first of all, the reason I created continuums is the reality that you have to adapt. You have to be thinking fit. And the irony for me is that even though that's one of the most commonly taught concepts of mine in the world, progressions and regressions, who's doing it properly? Like, everyone's got the theory, but who's really got the fine tuneness of adapting it on the spot on a needs basis? Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, no, and I definitely haven't got it, and it's something I need to work on. And just watching you change some of the movements in when we did the lat stretches, and then trying to find the other way around it to make that get better, rather than just going, oh, it needs to improve. And that was definitely something. It was just a big realization.
And seeing live working like you, it was mostly about you coaching, or your peers and you coaching with the groups, etc. But sometimes you got to see me do some coaching, solve some problems, and that I'm assuming that was a benefit for you.
A huge benefit. And just seeing how you move and around the client or the athlete, how you just that in itself, without even bringing words into it, it was just so powerful. How clear, how precise, and how you got it done, but in such a short space of time. Yeah. So
really proud of what you've done. You've a real standout in a program of standouts, and obviously, the old cream rise to the top saying is that if you put your hand up and you're really keen to learn and you're really enjoying what you're doing, then these opportunities just keep turning up, and you've got a big year ahead for you. As you've said, there's a lot of opportunities for you to go further. Is the fact that you're not conforming to your industry concerning for you? You're not going down the pub and drinking with your personal training buddies every Friday, or talking about how stretching's bad and working out the latest kettlebell exercise. Is that a problem for you in life, or not really?
No, not at all. And I like learning, and I spend my time doing that. And I've definitely set some kind of notes and some points for the week ahead and for the month ahead, and what I need to kind of put myself into a little bit more and learn more from. And I'm in the studio, and I did a full 45-minute flexibility session individualized with a client yesterday, while everyone else was jumping around the room doing whatever they were doing. But I don't mind, because that's the best way for that individual.
Well, the inevitable sideshow. You heard the Olympic athlete we were talking with on the weekend, and they said, we're still stretching when everyone's finished their entire workout, and they call us retards. Get ready to be mocked, because I think people are unsettled by a different approach, and the confidence in a different approach is even further unsettling to them. Obviously, in Olympic sport, it's really easy. We just say, look at the scoreboard, and we smile and wave. I guess it's a bit more subjective in the fitness industry, but you got to have the courage to be different. I've taught so many who've returned to the gutter, gone back into the crab bucket because of the pressure and the feeling of isolation. No one else is doing it. I better go back and do what everyone else is doing. But I don't think you're going to suffer from that.
No, and I think, oh wow, what you've learned, and there's so much more to learn, and it just solidifies it even more that there's no going back. No way.
Well, I couldn't imagine. I think you couldn't. I think some of the obviously changes you made have been permanent. And what about your clients? How are they dealing with the fact that you're on a mission?
Oh, they love it. And even this week, they've said to me, "Oh, Kelly, what you've come into sessions this week where this has been great." And just the subtle changes. And I think they can see me change as a person as well, compared to a couple of years ago when I used to jump around. And big changes and some really great feedback from them.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Not surprised. And that's another benefit, because you get respect from your clients when you see you improving like that, and the commitment to your self-improvement.
Yeah, definitely.
So I've got a few of the other coaches on the line, and if anyone's got a question for Kelly, I'd love to hear it put out there, because she's worth asking questions of and learning from her journey. It's a pretty stellar journey, and I don't think it's over yet. I mean, I'd be disappointed if it was. So as she said, she's just scratching the surface, tip of the iceberg sort of stuff.
Kelly, I want to really thank you for this interview, and the whole interview for me reads like you are so good in getting out of your comfort zone. And they say that it's one of the most important factors for success, and you are really so good at this. It's really nice to listen to. It starts with when you came from England, and then you moved to another country, and then with the speed sessions, you're not used to do speed sessions. You don't feel comfortable, but you do it, and you do it again, and you do it again, and then you work with a big group, more than 100 people, more than 140 people. Ian, is it fair to say that she probably has more experience in working with such big groups than most level 6 and above coaches?
Absolutely. She probably doesn't appreciate that.
It's so amazing. And then, I mean, you always come out of your comfort zone, and I think Ian has to be inventive to get you out of your comfort zone again and again, but he does it. He gives you 30 minutes instead of 12 hours, that kind of stuff. No, I just wanted to share that, Kelly. I'm in KSI now for several years, and it's rare what you are doing. It's really unique, and I can only imagine how far you will go, but you will, if you choose, you will go very far. I want to really thank you for that, and you're doing very well, Kelly. So if there's one question, what is now out of your comfort zone? The next thing that is out of your comfort zone, the challenge that you have.
This Sunday.
Yeah, this Sunday. And I will admit that I've bought a book about rugby this week, and I need to start learning. And that's one thing I need to do, is learning about sport. And so I have done that this week. So I've been reading.
Wow.
just so I can connect more. And especially with the athlete, it's very different organizing people and organizing athletes, as in just go from here to there. But when you're actually trying to connect, I find that really difficult, and that is my challenge. So that's something that's a big challenge for me. So yeah, this Sunday, but I'm going to try and connect a little better.
Again, you are doing that. That's amazing. Not everyone would do that. Maybe some people would say, well, not interested in that, not going to, but you dig deeper, and you're such a good student.
Oh, thanks, David. Yeah, well, it's I'm quite hard on myself sometimes. I'm trying not to be so hard, because I think, I need to give myself some credit sometimes, but always trying to do better. But no, thank you. And I really appreciate your words. It's really wonderful to hear. So thanks.
I really mean it. Good stuff. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you, David. And then for others ask a question, I was just going to say that when she did that speech session with me, she was so nervous. And I said, Kelly, why are you so nervous? Like, her heart rate was about 2 million and her blood pressure was 2,000. And it was just like, what's going on here, Kelly? But, hey, with the elephant in the room was spoken about. And then in the session, I think we had 150 or thereabouts. And I said, Kelly, obviously, you're gonna get your turn taking them in the stretch, but do you want to do the introduction and just take control from the get-go? And the first time I said it, she thought about it for. I said, no, I don't want to do that. And that's more than fair. So that's okay. And then I asked her the same question a few months later and said, Kelly, do you want to run? You want to do the intro and get it organized? I said, yep. So, you know, that's progress.
Yeah.
Jess, this week she's going to be a flying solo. That's the next level in her development. So that's to her credit. So other questions for Kelly?
Hi, Kelly. Thanks for this interview. It's really inspiring to hear your story. One question I had was a unique thing around KSI is the opportunity to speak to and share with and be mentored by the high-level coaches. Have you found that experience compared to other learning programs you've been on, or in other gym or industry environments?
Good question, and thanks, Paula. I when I was in the other gym environments and when I was in commercial gyms, I didn't really communicate with many other trainers, and I think looking back, maybe I should have, but they all used to kind of sit in one area, and I used to always try and be proactive and productive. And so I suppose I've never really had anyone around me that I can look up to in this field and get them to kind of guide and support and mentor. So for me, this has been an extremely valuable experience, and also just to spend time with like-minded people. But having all of the higher level coaches and seeing how far they've come, and also to hear their stories from when they started, because I think originally I used to think when I first started, oh wow, look where they are, that's amazing, and you don't really understand and know where they've come from. And just to hear their journeys and where they are now, and just their mentoring, their guiding, their support, and that goes to everyone, is just phenomenal. The leadership is fantastic.
Thanks for sharing that. It's certainly a unique environment.
Oh, it's really unique, and I can never take it for granted, because it's just so special.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, and Kelly, obviously, I think you're about a year ahead of us, being involved with KSI Roughly. So, we're watching you and looking up to you, because we're really enjoying watching your journey, and we're getting to see sort of what's ahead for us as well through you. And the way you're approaching it is amazing, because it sounds a little bit intimidating, I'll be honest with you, and you're taking it very well. Something I wanted to ask you is, since you've been involved in KSI, from your experiences before being involved in KSI, how do you feel your ability to attract clients has changed?
Thanks for the question. I've had the similar client base. So for me, I've maybe had from word of mouth of clients. I don't do much advertising, and so it's more word of mouth and referrals from clients I have in my business. I don't really do anything to attract new clients other than word of mouth from people that already know me.
And has KSI given you the confidence that is the way for you to work? Because obviously before you get involved in KSI, there is a little bit of a conformity issue of, I need to get on social media and I need to put myself out there, I need to advertise. Has it given you more confidence? Yeah,
definitely more confidence. And also clients trust me a little more, and they see value in the services I'm providing, which I think they've definitely, over the last year especially, have spoken to more people about me and the journey they have with me, whereas prior to that I don't think they did that as much. So I definitely think confidence is growing, and clients' value that they see and the trust that they have in me is growing too.
Thank you.
You'll enjoy Kelly Level 5, because we do a lot of work on that very subject. But it is based on the foundation of referral-based business, and you're on your way without even realizing you're on your way. But we do get a lot more targeted in that competency step in Level 5. Coming back to Paula's comment about mentoring, even right throughout that Level 3 prac, every time we did a debrief, there was a high-level coach who'd been watching you, giving you feedback.
Yeah. And it was it was great, and also it was some of the comments were kind of resonating with where they were in the Level 3s and the lower levels, and that was great to hear. But also then things that they've learned and ways in which it could be done better. Or it was, yeah, just incredible. And it's great to have that support.
Yeah, it's pretty unique, as Paula said, where you've got high-level coaches there in their own time from around the world, literally from diverse countries, willing to help you. They're learning by watching you. They're learning by watching the whole thing. They're picking up things that you might not even pick up, but at the same time, they're giving back. So that's definitely the culture we've created. Some great questions there, and I understand what they're saying about, they feel like you're ahead of them in that regard. But never measure just on time. Measure on willingness to step up and change and immerse yourself. And if you knew where some of our coaches have come from, you'd have a lot more self-confidence. Like they'll tell you that you're ahead of them at the same stage of their career. So you are going to impress yourself. And it's a big difference in working with people. You can impress people with, like, I can impress you with who I am, or I can impress you with how great you can be. And that's our preference. And that's what we teach you to do with the clients. It's not about saying, listen, look at my biceps, they're 20 inches and isn't that amazing? It's like, if that's your goal, I can help you get that goal. So impressing them about what they're capable of, rather than taking up their time, impressing you with who you are per se. So sometimes we've got to shrink and bring the focus back onto our clients. Some really good questions, and I appreciate that. Those questions really reinforced some of the unique differences. So Kelly, any questions, any comments as we come closer to the end here?
I just like to say, and especially coming out of when COVID happened last year, I think that was a real great chance for me.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you, Kelly. You stood up. I tell you what, when COVID happened, I said, this is going to be interesting. How are people going to handle this? And Kelly went bang, 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 bang. Kelly put her head down and a bum up, and she went to work. Sorry I interrupted you, but I had to say, Kelly, that you weren't the only one. You were a handful of people in our program who really stood up during COVID. And I think it rewarded me. Anyway, so
I was just going to say, and I think before COVID, it's like coming from England to Australia, I found there's a lot more opportunity here, and I've definitely grown as a person in Australia. But then coming from COVID, prior to that, I just had a mindset about work. Even though I was on level one, level one wasn't the priority to my week, because I was working such long hours. And when COVID hit, it gave me the opportunity to actually work a little less. And as soon as I got stuck into KSI even more, that was the route I wanted to take. And my business and my whole kind of structure has changed leading from that. So it was, I'm so grateful for COVID, because it allowed me to get deeper into KSI and learn even more. So it's,
Yeah, they're great points. And that's why I was saying before that it's not time, it's your immersion, it's a willingness to work in the program. You can accelerate your learning by doing more. And COVID kind of did that, so to speak. I wouldn't say COVID did that for you, but other people just panicked and went into la-la land during COVID. But, COVID did mean free you up a bit more time, and you chose to use that time in your KSI studies. So what I'm saying is there's a correlation between how much time and effort you put into a KSI study and how fast you can grow. We had a great story, you'll probably hear at some stage, where two of my coaches attended the same seminar in about 2010 in Los Angeles, and then one of them didn't go on with it, and then the other one went into the coaching program. And 2 years later, they got back together again about 2012, when the coach who didn't take action couldn't believe how advanced the other coach had become. And so he was inspired to take action and try and stay in the slipstream. So it's not just time, it's time in the saddle, as we say in sport. How many hours you put into. You've been a phenomenal student during COVID, and you've seen the rewards. And it's hard to tell people, listen, there's so much more. Like, you're just scratching the surface. People think I've got three heads, or I might be bullshitting them, but you've got no idea what you don't know. And that's not a reason to scare yourself. It's just the excitement of the depth of learning is so deep. And it's the same, if you train an athlete for 10 or 20 years in a row, and you can't keep giving them new, and not new for the sake of new, but if you can't develop them further and further through your own experiences and your competencies, you'll lose them. We have 20 years, and you might start feeling a degree of competency in terms of like, you're not going to run out of learning with us. In other industries, you know, a maxillofacial specialist is a 16-year full-time study. You know, it's not uncommon for any high-level professional to study full-time for 10 to 20 years to be at the top of their game or to earn the right to be called a specialist. So in their field. So you've got so much more opportunity ahead of you. Well, that's a phenomenal comment to finish on that COVID one, Kelly, because I actually think COVID paralysed the majority of people in our industry. I think the majority of people in our industry, quite simply, shut up shop and went home, got scared and gave it up. And yet you're in a far better place because you took action during COVID. And, you know, something that I won't forget, because it's so good to see other people willing to work hard. When times get tough, the tough get going. And all the sharp business people I know are in the same situation. They said, we just went to work, reorganized, worked hard, and got smart. And, you know, they've all come out well.
Yeah.
So at some point in time, and I like your point, Kelly, where you're starting to say, I probably should celebrate my successes so far. You've come so far and you've got so many gifts, and soon you'll stop doubting yourself and just appreciating where you've come from. And that doesn't mean, you know, it's a window and mirror concept. We talk about the Stockdale principle, where you can see where you are, but also see how, you know, the opportunity for going further. And over the next year or two, I think that's really going to happen for you. You're going to get really confident and comfortable in acknowledging your improvements and keeping your cup empty for the improvements that could occur. You know, this is you're just scratching the surface, but you have come so far. It's worth you acknowledging that. So we'll knock the English cultural habits out of you a little bit. You know, it's you know, the class system influence. You are allowed to change classes in our society. You're not stuck in the class you're born in. We'll turn you into royalty, even though it's a very un-English thing to do, to suggest that you could. But I mean, Harry and Megan are becoming unroyalty, so there's no reason you can. Anyway, I digress.
Well, what did C2K say? She's tougher. She's tougher from last year. That was
absolutely, yeah. That one of the coaches walked past and, oh, she's tough enough, and I said, yeah, I fired her up. Absolutely.
But no, thank you, everyone, and yeah, it's been brilliant.
Pleasure to work with you, Kelly. It's you're a great role model for anybody in the program to do what you're doing and to come from where you've come. You know, it's not about the size of your bicep or, you know, the level of sport you played in the past. It's about your willingness to improve, your willingness to embrace change, and your desire to get better to help more people. And it's exactly what you're doing. I like to bottle your journey because it's a really strong role model. You wouldn't, and that's why I say to all our top performers, I said, you are more than just you. You are a role model for other people. And, you know, it doesn't matter where we are. People look up to us. Everyone feels, oh, I'm not at the top. I feel inadequate. But if you've stepped forward, if you've made movement, somebody's going to be inspired by that. So don't underestimate the role model you are. I think you're starting to get that hint from the coaches on the call now alone.
Yeah, and thank you. Honestly, it's been, yeah, I'm just really excited for the next year, 2-3 years. It's going to be really good.
Well, I was looking for the next few decades, but that'll be a starting point.
Each day I'm learning something new. Each week I'm learning something new. There's always, and yeah.
Good stuff. Well, thank you for your time today, Kelly. Thanks to the role model and inspiration that you are. And thanks to our coaches, as always, for being on the call live and supporting the process, supporting Kelly, supporting the call, and adding the value in the questions that you added. We'll be talking again, same schedule next week with our next coach. So thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.